Oh, this bastard thing. I had a little tail on or something snapped. This little rat man's tail snapped. And every time I glue it back on, it just comes flying back off again. So I think I
Mate,
need to give up.
you're not allowed to adopt tails anymore. It's against the law.
Hey,
I was trying to add in the wrong person there. Sorry, Giant Paint Minis. I was actually adding in the wrong person there. Sorry. I forgot it was the dragon. Ukrainian. Well, technically you're Russian. You know, and the Russians, Mother Russia is going to overtake you soon, my friend.
Good evening, gents.
we don't do dodgy accents, though.
Buongiorno.
Yeah, all right, Dan, how you doing, buddy? You good?
Not too bad, mate. You?
Yeah, good, buddy. Good.
Yeah. How are you keeping, Donkey? All right?
Yeah, man, also, I'm all good.
Good. That's what we like to hear.
So, welcome to the Inquisition, Dan. You're part of episode 96, the naughty episodes.
The naughty episode.
Yeah, because it's 69 backwards. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Which makes it worse because it's backwards, which is weird.
Yeah, it's an ecumenical matter, as I like to say in the chat. So
That is a massive word that I actually don't know what it means.
it's religious. It's a Father Ted quote, isn't it?
It really is. Max, you could never be me. You could equate to about three of me. You're massive. I'm just what?
Yeah, nobody is as massive as Mr. Internet. He is the Mr. A-hole Internet of us all. He is our supreme overlord, etc., etc. He's that much of an a-hole he get ran out of Watford and had to go to Florida, the a-hole state of America, because everybody hates Florida for some reason. Don't know why.
Because it's nice and warm all the time.
That's true.
It's not just warm, it's clammy.
Yeah,
It's
that's
muggy.
And
the
there's a good
humidity
chance
gets
you'll
to
get
everyone.
there's a good chance you'll get eaten by a gator or strangled by a Burmese python.
Or a random encounter with Florida guy. That's always a good one.
What, Sam?
So, Dan, thanks for joining us tonight. So, for the Pope, even though the Pope might be watching, I don't know. For people that don't know you, give yourself a wee brief introduction about yourself.
So I'm Dan from North Wales. Started painting God knows how many years ago, but got back in during COVID and basically spiraled into a pit of, oh God, how much stuff have I got and why haven't I painted it all yet? It's, yeah.
So, the first question I ask everybody, or Casey sometimes asks when he's hosting, what age were you and what got you into the plastic crack addiction back in the sheep shagging days?
I was I was 14 and it was one of my schoolmates went into Chester with him and he was like, oh, we're going to Games Workshop. I had no idea what it was. He took us in there and I ended up buying a set of the old school plastic skeleton warriors from Fantasy Battle, the ones where they've all got that like pose and you just stick the shields on the hand.
Yeah.
It was the first set I ever bought with like 4 paints and never looked back. I did take a massive break, but then got back into it even worse than I did the first time. So,
And what was the reason for your break? Was it drink, drugs, and women?
I wish no. Work. I worked hospitality, and you don't have time for a life outside of hospitality. Spent 21 years in that industry, and working stupid hours and spending your entire life doing that kind of stuff. I was just like, I don't have time for anything else. There was a little bit of disgruntledness about, I think it was like 4th or 5th edition kind of fell out with the rules a bit because they started bringing in like the structure points for vehicles. And I lost my rag when I lost a layman rust to a glancing last pistol shot. And I was like, nah, that's it. I'm done. I'm out. So
Yeah,
they had that. Yeah, that stacking rolling sixes, I was just like, nah, if that's how I can lose a layman Ross, I'm not even going to entertain it. So I dropped out for a while, but picked it up beginning of 9th.
So, see, when you lost, like, do you still know the guy that like killed your Lehman Russ?
Sadly, no. This was when I lived down in Wiltshire. I lived like down south, and yeah, I just I don't really speak to many of the people from down there because I moved back up here. Still keep in touch with a few of them. But yeah, I was just like, I saluted him for a good game, but I also commended him for the luckiest rolls in the world. So
I wonder, right, if that guy goes about telling his mates that he managed to destroy a Lehman Russ tank with a last pistol, and people are like, no,
he was riding that high that night.
I mean, people are like, no, that just doesn't happen. He's like, no, but seriously, it did happen, and people
Yeah.
don't believe him.
It was back in the old days where you had the armors, what was it, the facing armors and stuff like that, and it was like he just managed to get a glancing shot on the rear armor, and it was just enough. And then just the luck of rolling sixes, it was like I've never had that luck in my entire time playing this game, and I just couldn't believe it.
It was
So
jammy sometimes with those old rules. Like
Yeah.
a
Oh yeah.
bolt could destroy a rhino.
Yeah. And that's all it was. It was literally just one glancing shot, and he just rolled straight sixes on the damage tables, which just led to a catastrophic eruption. So yeah, I was just like, if that's something that can happen in the game so easily, I was like, I just can't do it. I couldn't stick with the rules on that one. So dropped out for quite a while, and then got back in during COVID.
I'm actually visualising the scene in Saving Private Ryan where Tom Hanks is dying
Yeah. Oh,
and the tank just blows up.
yeah,
But
just sitting there blasting away.
so you said that you were in hospitality for the best part of 21 years. What
Yeah.
made you give up male stripping?
Honestly, the weird looks. I'm not from the guest. I just mean mine. I'm not the most attractive man in the world.
Getting your shirt, and you're just looking at people like.
It was when I lifted the shirt and one of the boobs fell out. I was like, oh god, I really need to stop doing this.
Oh, not again.
You need a good brow weight underwire. That will sort that. Casey?
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah, since getting back into it, then what made you jump onto Instagram with it all? Because I don't think this is something that we often ask, Dunk. You know, it's one step to get back into the hobby and doing Warhammer and the various other things that you do, but then to decide, you know what, I'm going to shove it out on Instagram. What was your motivation there?
I'd had Instagram for a number of years, and I used it for like my old airsoft stuff back in the day. And one of my mates who I'd met through going back to Games Workshop and met at the local store, and he was like, "Oh yeah, here's some of my stuff," and he showed me Instagram, and I was like, "Oh, that's really like." He was like really saying it's really cool stuff that you can find loads of people who get into the hobby. And I was like, all right. So I added him and started following him, and then as I added him, more and more people started getting recommended, and I started just like spiraling, loads of people adding me, starting to chat to people, and I ended up as part of like loads of different little groups of people who were like, you know, you can do this, you can do that, and I was using it for inspiration. And yeah, I just ended up sticking with it because it's a really nice way to, you know, share the hobby with everyone and see what other people are up to as well.
I will agree with you on there because it is nice also as a tool to chart your own progress, isn't it? You know, from getting back into where you started and going forth. In doing a little bit of research, like I like to try and do for every episode and try and come across like I know what I'm talking about. Glancing at your account, I will say, apart from obviously your Dark Angels, which pop up quite regularly, the rest of your account just seems to be a bit of a splattering of what potentially must be just, I like this mini, I'm going to paint it. Would you say that your approach is that you've got like one standard thing that is your thing, and then you've got various other things you just like your toe in your water with, or do you think that, you know?
Started out with Dark Angels years and years ago. They were my primary army. Way back when I first started collecting 40k, I was like, oh, I like these. They're broody and edgy, and I was like, you know, teenage years. I was like, this is great. And then when I came back to the hobby, I was like, I think that's the way I'm going to go. I mean, way back when I worked for Games Workshop for a couple of months, I was like, abused the staff discount and built up quite a substantial Imperial Guard tank army and stuff. And then as I was going through all of like my stuff, like after I'd come back to the hobby, because I got rid of a few bits, but I kept the majority of the big stuff. And I was like, I definitely want to do my tank army again, but I really wanted to get Krieg, but it was too expensive because it was resin cast. And then I saw all the new plastic miniatures, like the first step back into the hobby. I was like, what the hell is a Primaris Marine? Where the hell did this come from? Like the astounding moment when somebody pointed out that they look so good because they now have torsos and stuff like that. I was like, okay, that's cool. But then once I'd gotten back into the hobby, I started seeing like more and more stuff they'd started like designing and developing. Like the Age of Sigmar stuff is stunning. Not long after I started, they released Curse City, and I was like, those are beautiful. Like I really want to start trying new stuff. So yeah, I primary focus on the Dark Angels, the secondary focus on my Guard army. But if I see something I really like, I'll just throw something different just to try different painting techniques or different styles and just to try something different, because it's, painting Dark Angels is a lot of plate armor. So
yeah, sure. And with the stuff that you managed to keep a hold of, what are you sort of talking about? Because I know for me, when I gave it up originally for the first time and had to eventually get rid of stuff because the baby was coming, I got rid of loads of stuff that I now regret. Was there anything that you regret getting rid of, or have you still managed to keep those special bits?
a majority of my old Dark Angel stuff, I was gutted when I got rid of that. Sort of like the stuff I got rid of was mostly just like the soldiers and stuff, like the smaller, lots of units. But the stuff I kept was like my tanks and things like that. So I kept my entire guard tank army, which was about 9 Layman Russ, a Baneblade, a couple of Chimeras, Earthshaker. So I kept all that. But I missed my Dark Angel stuff because I had a load of Firstborn stuff, including some of the old characters, like the old lead characters. And I'm gutted I got rid of them because there were some really nice miniatures out there, and it was a shame to have gotten rid of them. But at the time, I was moving around, like changed houses a couple of times, and then ran out of storage space. And I was like, I've got to get rid of some stuff. So
yeah, it's always a shame when that happens and you have to sacrifice something, especially now when you look online and see how much some of that old stuff is worth.
God, yeah. I was lucky because one of the miniatures I always wanted was years ago they did, I think it was a Dark Angels battalion, and it came with a special edition Dark Angels company commander. Yeah. And it's like the one they got at the minute, but instead of having the big sword and the winged helmet, he had the hood and he had a plasma bolt gun. I was like, that's a stunning mini. I finally found one on eBay, and the guy wanted like 80 quid for it just for that one miniature. I was like, I can't bring myself to spend that, but then I popped them an email and got it way cheaper, and I now have one, and it's like, such a crowning thing. So
yeah. You know what? I had the fully cloaked one with the giant sword, and that was one of them, and I just regret it. But
yeah, I've got one of them now, but it's fine cast, so I'm hesitant to put it together.
So Giant Paints Minis, where he's at work, wants to know, what's a project that you did that you were passionate about What's a project you did that you were passionate about, but after it ended up being not that good?
Kill Team stuff. I love the Kill Team minis. I think they're all fantastic, but I started picking up the Kill Team sets because I wanted to really get into it, and I spent ages putting them together. I've now got boxes scattered around my house full of like Kill Team sets that are just grey plastic and they just sit in boxes. I got all the terrain for it, and I started doing, I think I managed to paint the Kriegsmen and halfway through the Orcs, and I was just like, I love these, but it's not something I'm ever going to really focus and play on because I'm still trying to get used to the rules of the last version sort of thing. And it's by the time I was like starting on the terrain, I was like, this is massive. This is a huge undertaking. And I lost the love for it. And I was like, it wasn't worth the time. I think I will eventually get round to it. Sure. But I've just not really pushed as hard as I could have done because I just sort of lost the love for it.
I'll ask one more question. I'll pass it back on to Dunk. But something I always like to ask as well for guys that have been in it for ages and then it's often come back, from where it was to where it is now, especially even things like the terrain, how much better or worse do you think things are?
That's a hard one because there are some aspects of it I like are a lot better. Like I love the whole when you're building your team, your armies up and stuff, like the fact that you can just change options and it doesn't cost anything. That's great because you're not working out fiddly little points. But what I don't like is the way that as the editions have changed and evolved, they keep nerfing stuff. Like the biggest example was the Dark Angels, where they released the new codex and I was dead excited for it. And then they'd taken out a couple of my favourite units, like the Deathwing Apothecary and the Deathwing Ancient and the Deathwing Champion. And it's like they were really class units that you could add into an army to give it a nice bit of flavour. And then they just completely nerfed them out of existence to streamline the game. But it was like, you'd already done a massive amount of streamlining. You'd taken away the good stuff. And they have made big leaps and bounds. Like the miniatures are better, they're more posable, more customisable. The terrain is better, but at the same time, they now just chuck flat boards in every set, and it's like it's kind of hard to picture it because it's like there's so much has changed over the years. There's stuff I love, there's stuff I hate. So,
Mr. Ukraine also asked, how much is it for a dance with glasses on and or glasses off?
I didn't have glasses at the time. It's only in my old age my eyes have gone cocky. So,
Mr. Internet has asked, "What is your favourite seaside place in North Wales?" And then puts out a lot of consonants and vowels in random order.
Right. Real Conwyn, Bangor, or Carnarvon? There you go, Dunk.
So, Real, don't go too much. Pretty rough. Conway, lovely, but the beaches aren't great. Llandudno, you missed Llandudno because they do the pirate celebration every year and they have like pirate ships and stuff. That's amazing. Carnarvon's lovely, but the nearest one to me is Talacra. It's like 15-minute drive and then go for a nice wander down the beach. So,
yeah, I'm going to jump in really. You know what? ADH Minis, I like you, mate, but fuck off. I'm going to jump in it. I bloody love Carnarvon. It's one of my favourite places in the world because me and my mates used to go there most years and get pissed on the cheap, and then we'd end up in Bangor on student nights when we're in our mid-30s. Quality going for £1 a pint and £5 for 5 the horrible little VK things.
Yeah, I remember. This was a conversation of me and Sam Warpgate were having because he used to go to uni round there, and it turns out we both used to go to the same nightclubs and stuff, but not at the same time, because he's a couple of years older than me. And the A55 is horseshit. You are absolutely right. But yeah, it was like there was the Tiv used to do like the £25 all in on the doors and stuff, and it's like, ooh, those are brutal nights, long gone.
A Up Peyton has asked, if you could revive one Primarch, regardless of how they died, who would it be?
Dawn. I think Dawn should come back because I think you've got so many like outrageous characters in the 40k universe. I think you need a plank of wood with a hammer to come back and throw some sass. Because I just love the idea of having like, Gilliman's chronic depressive. Lionel Johnson's like, my sons, whatever, and then you've just got Dawn is like, yeah, you all suck. And I think it would be hilarious to just throw that sort of like straight shooting chaos into everything.
So I watched some podcast that Chaos Lord bears on Tabletop Tactics, the one that isn't the stripper for grannies, and they went through all the Primarchs and who would they have as like star as that Primarch. What actor would you have as Dawn if you could have any actor?
See, I'd want it to be somebody with an English accent, but at the same time, I do think that the guy who was the villain in the first Avatar movie, I think he'd make a fantastic Dawn looks-wise, but I think he'd really need to learn how to put on just a straight shooting English boring accent.
Yeah, he's got the hair for it.
He's got the square head that really sells it.
Almost Guile, like from Street Fighter.
Yeah, exactly. And Giants Paint Minis, don't worry, because we all know that he's not dead. He's still there. Stop panicking. He's a Vulcan boy, so
he's like Yarrick. He's not dead. He's just resting.
He's just taking a kip.
Yeah, he's just away making some cake. That's right. He's just having some cake.
He's doing a great warhammer thing.
He's just sitting with his feet up.
Cooking Adventures has asked, what is your biggest goal in the hobby? For example, mine is to collect all the Dark Angels ever produced. Do you have this kind of wishes?
I think my goal would be, at the minute, my biggest goal is to run like a 3,000 point game and actually have all 3,000 points painted. Because it's over the years, 3,000 points has always been like the top end limit for a game. And for years and years and years, I'd always have like, half my units painted or a third of my units painted. At the minute, it'd just be to have like all of that done. But my current goal is I'm working on Cursed City and I just want to get that done because I love the miniatures in it. But I've never really had sort of like any aspirations. I just want to have fun, enjoy myself and do what I'm doing, enjoy the hobby for what it is and not let it get the better of me.
That makes sense because at the end of the day, it's nice to have a long-term goal, but also to just break it up, isn't it? Because I've been painting the same Space Marine army since I got back into it, and after a little while, it just gets to you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you're painting the same thing repetitively, even though
Yeah,
you love it
which is
so much.
why I switch it out. And it's like, I don't think I could ever do it as a job. Like, I love mini painting, I love playing the games, I
Mm,
love reading the lore. But I think if it became my all-encompassing career, it would stop being fun because I'm having to do it to make money and survive.
yeah,
Whereas I'd rather make money elsewhere doing something I don't enjoy as much and then have the money to enjoy this as a hobby on the side.
yeah, definitely. Which is answer, Commissar Molotov, what am I painting? Mate, I'm doing me rats. I'm getting back into it because Commissar Molotov lives locally to me. We've been chatting for a little while about trying to run a little Mordheimey thing, and I picked up all the Skaven Underworld stuff and a couple of the new bits, and I'm trying to make a warband. So fingers crossed. I think by next month we should be talking, mate. But going back to what you were just saying there, Dan, about enjoying the hobby as for what it is rather than making a career out of it. You did comment a little bit that you worked for Games Workshop for a couple of months there.
Yeah,
Obviously, you've only said a couple of months. So without going into too much, because I don't know what you are happy to talk about with it and what you're not,
open book.
cool. Why only a couple of months? What happened there?
So I lived down in Wiltshire for 3 or 4 years. Moved down there, had a job in a pub, and then left that job because it was awful. And I ended up applying at the local Games Workshop in Bath, which at the time was the massive one where they had like big storefront. It had like 14 gaming tables, and it was it was one of their flagship stores.
Yeah.
And I applied just on the off chance because I thought, I used to paint Warhammer, I still do periodically. And I actually got the job, and it took me by surprise. But at the time, I was going through, I wouldn't say it was a tumultuous relationship, but it was a little bit ropey at times. And I couldn't get the focus in. Of course, I'd only played 40k at this point. So during my probation, I had to learn how to play 40k properly. I also had to completely learn how to play Age of Sigmar. And at the time, Lord of the Rings was one of the core games as well. So I had to not only buy an army for Fantasy Battle, sorry, not Age of Sigmar, because it was way back when. Had to buy a Fantasy Battle army and a Lord of the Rings army, have them both fully painted up, and learn the games from top to bottom. And in the 3 or 4 months I had to do it, I was dealing with general life as well. And it just, it all got on top of me. I couldn't learn it all, and I ended up failing my probation. So I was gutted. I didn't pass it. I really loved the hobby, but I hadn't made the cut at the time. So, the boss who hired me at the time, name was Bruce, really lovely gentleman. He just sat me down and said, I don't like doing this, but you have unfortunately failed your probation. If you learn everything, come back and see me in a couple of months. We might be able to sort you out. But at the same time, until you've got everything down pat, we can't let you keep the job. And I was like, it is what it is. So I ended up working for Game Station later. So
it is pretty brutal when you think about it. And I think this is something that when we were younger, maybe in those teenage years, that we didn't realise how kind of cutthroat they are. There were the kids in there that would know all the rules inside out for every game.
Oh yeah, there was the kids who, like, you'd be trying to do a demo game and you'd have the kids in the background shouting, "That's wrong!" And it's like, you're not helping me with my job because you're making me look like a mug. But yeah, it's at the same time, there was a couple of the guys in there who were nice enough. They knew that I was learning, and they'd actually do their best to try and help me get on top of everything. So it was like, there was a good crowd, and then you had some people who weren't as great. So, but I think it's the same with anything that you do in any job or career anyway. You're going to have somebody who thinks they know better.
Yeah, especially in the environment in a Games Workshop shop back when it was a hobby shop rather than just a retailer, wasn't it? It was definitely
because it was just the 3 cores, and then if you wanted anything else, you had to order it online. They didn't have the specialist stuff in store.
Yeah. It's
they still don't have the specialist stuff in store. It's fucking shocking.
I think you're lucky if you find a store with it, to be honest with you. I think I've only seen, I know Tottenham Court Road in London does, and I think maybe 1 or 2 others I've been to. You're lucky if you see it, but yeah.
I know the Chester store has got a fairly decent line of a few of the bits, but that comes and goes. And there's been times I've gone in there, they've had a really nice choice on the lines, and then there's been other times where I've been like, there's nothing. So
Jay in Toyland asks, which miniature really drained your soul while you were painting it? That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a great question, Jay. And see, for that, I'm going to steal that question for future Inquisitions, and we're not going to give you credit for it either.
Yeah, no credit for you, Jake. That's it. It's ours now.
Because
Thanks.
we are arseholes
What we
or
do.
a-holes. It's what we
I
do.
think the one that really pushed, but like by the time I'd done it, I was like, oh, thank Christ, I'm done with that, was painting Magnus the Red. Because up until the point of painting Magnus the Red, I had painted nothing but Space Marines. So I thought, I'll try something a bit different, and I wanted to start collecting Thousand Suns. The problem is I didn't start on something small and easy to work with. I started on Magnus the Red, and that was just hours and hours and hours of like dry brushing, airbrushing, layering, learning like 20 new painting techniques. And by the time I was done with it, I just sat there and looked at it and went, well, I'm not touching you again. Up he went on the shelf, because I was like, that was a stressful time. But that's the one that drained me the most. But I think if I could go back and do it again, I would, because now that I've learned more, I think it'd be a more enjoyable experience. It's just at the time it was trying to learn everything while I was doing it. So
Yeah, it's a bit of a monster, isn't it? To have
yeah,
yeah.
Starting with something so big and so heavy to then yeah, to start that as your first step into the like not plate armor was a bit of a heavy one.
Doug?
I was going to say something really cheeky there, but I'm not going to, because I'm not that sort of person.
Moderation in this group, in this show. Oh,
I know.
In
Maybe.
answer to that one, ADHD, I have been to A55, but not when it was an airsoft. I went and played paintball there years, like this was like 15, 20 years ago. Never played airsoft there.
I'll jump into airsoft. I'll tell you what, Doug, I'm going to jump into airsoft quick if you don't mind, mate, because I've dabbled with it. And you obviously mentioned it, and we did so we're going to try and keep that for the hobby stuff. But it's a hobby, so we'll jump in. What was it about airsoft that stuck out for you to go rather than sort of a paintballing route?
Bit more of the realism, bit more of the tactics. Like, paintball, you can see the shots coming from a mile off, so you can try and dodge them. And I don't know, I just generally enjoyed it more. And the place I played was like a massive 220 acre odd site, and I just really enjoyed the lads we played with. I enjoyed the time, like it was damn good exercise for me. It was just a bit of mental health as well, because we all used to have a good laugh on it. So, yeah, I don't know, I just always preferred airsoft over paintball.
Did you own your own stuff for it? What did you have in your collection?
Too much is the straight answer. But I had M4 with lots of silly mods on it that made it burst fire and ridiculously accurate. 1911 sidearm, and then my main weapon, which because I used to run sniper, was I had a heavily customized sniper bolt action, which I'd managed to make almost silent, which was horrible for people when they were trying to hunt me.
Now, I do follow a guy on the old Tube of You who does sniper airsoft videos, right? How annoying is a sniper in airsoft?
It depends on how intensely they take it. Like, I used to play it, like, I had a leaf suit and stuff like that. I picked it up for like $25 in the US. I was like, yeah, I'm grabbing that for airsoft. But we still had a laugh with it, and I didn't take it super serious. Like, we had a strict no headshots rule if you were a sniper, because it's just like, it's nasty. So yeah, of course you do. You're in Florida. But yeah, it was like, we used to sort of like, I'd hide in bushes and I'd pick people off and stuff, but I always sort of like used to just run around like a lunatic as well. Like, at one point I assaulted a building as a sniper because I was like, well, this is taking too long. So ran up, shot people on the way, and then dropped the pistol as I went in. It's like, some people take it very, very seriously, where they'll like build full ghillie suits and hide in bushes and you won't see them for half a day. And then there's some people where it's like, well, he's running around wearing a Santa hat, I know where he is, but at the same time, it's still fun trying to hunt him. So, it depends on who you're playing with at the time.
Yeah. And I don't know if many people know this, right? But I used to be in the army, right? I don't know if I've ever said this online.
Yeah, bingo sheet, tick it off.
How annoying would it be when you're playing against ex-military people at airsoft? Do they take it serious, or are they just there for the shits and the giggles?
Most of the time they're there for the shits and the giggles. There are the odd occasions where you get the ones who take it super, super seriously, and once they realise that everyone's having a laugh and playing it semi-seriously but still enjoying themselves, they generally tend to fall in the same pattern. You do get the odd one or two who get really narked because you're not treating it like, storming some military compound in Afghanistan or something, but they soon wheedle themselves out because they realise you're not taking it as seriously as they think you should. One of my biggest things about it is most of them will treat the airsoft rifles like they're the real thing, not realizing that you don't have 600-700 meters of range with a rifle. You've only got 30 meters. So they'll sort of suddenly find themselves getting taken out quite quickly because they're vastly overestimating the range of their kit. So
it is crazy sometimes. A few times I did it, you could tell the guys who knew what they were doing as opposed to the people that were just there for a bit of a laugh and a joke. But I don't think I've ever come across a bad environment when I was doing it.
No.
A follow-up question for this on the airsoft stuff. The last time I played, and it is literally the last time I played, I fell over and popped my collarbone out of my shoulder. Have you had any funny injuries from doing it?
Absolutely carked my ankle once. Jumping out of a tower and landed on an old tyre, rolled my ankle, but I was like, it's just rolled, it'll be fine. Carried on playing. Bit later on, one of our guys who was a sniper with a full ghillie suit hiding in a bush didn't realise it was me. I'm 5'9", he was 6'2", and he had about 12 kilos on me, so he ran up behind me to knife kill me, put his full weight on me, and I folded like a cheap suit. That was me out for the rest of the day. The most of the week in work, it was light duties because I couldn't really move anywhere. So, yeah, that was fun. But I've never had anything particularly serious injuries-wise. I'd say the worst injury I received that wasn't like a broken bone was storming a building and somebody using a M203 and catching me square in the nuts. So, yeah, that one hurt.
So, Billy the Kid, aka Whatgate Studios, wants to know, Dan, tell us about the missus and how you met. This better be a good story, Sam, because if not...
Yeah, if you've sold us down a path here, Sam, we're going to come to Florida and beat you up.
Well, my wife is from Georgia in the US. And yeah, basically I'd hit that point where I actually started to dabble and dip my toes into the pool of plenty of fish. And I was having absolute fuck all luck, and then randomly one day I got a message from somebody in Georgia. I was like, why is somebody from the US messaging me? And apparently
did you not have your distance radius set or something?
Oh yeah, I did. She messaged me. Apparently she'd been looking for people in a local area, and according to Plenty of Fish, Flintshire is a suburb in Georgia. So we ended up talking sort of 4 or 5 years. And then one day I needed to get a holiday where work couldn't call me in early. So I asked if I could crash on a sofa for a couple of days, and she was like, yeah, sure. I was just going to go off and see America and have a trip around, and ended up flying out there and just instantly clicked, and we were married a year later.
That old chestnut can crash in your couch.
It was literally just intended to be a crash on the couch. I ended up coming back engaged, getting married a year later, and we're now 6 years married, so...
That's actually quite nice.
Yeah, it was.
I think she lost the coin flip in coming to the UK.
She actually prefers it over here. She'd always intended to come to the UK at some point, but we were looking at moving out that way, but it was going to cost us a lot for a visa because there'd been a lot of changes in the way you apply, and we didn't have that kind of money, so we sped up our plans, came back this way. Problem was we picked the worst bloody time to do it because I moved back December 2019. She followed in January 2020. So
I suppose though, once they gave Sam his green card and they realised that was a massive clusterfuck, they had to make sure that didn't happen again, I suppose. You know what I mean? They had to tighten up the dates. And did you automatically think America, or did you think this is some sort of Russian bride scenario going on? Because when somebody says me, Georgia, I'm thinking the country, not the state.
Yeah, it literally said GA USA, and it was because I didn't know much about the US. Evening, Ryan. Because I didn't know much about the country, I just saw USA. I was like, who the hell's messaging me from the USA and where the hell from? So I quickly had a look at where it was, and we ended up chatting. So
I will say it is weird. Like you think a lot how they designate the states out there, like
Yeah,
NYFLCA. Georgia being GA. I get it's the first letter and last letter, but everything else is like the first two letters or the first two letters of the two words or something.
Yeah.
GA. Someone says GA. They're from GA in America to me. I'm like, what? Where's
yeah.
that? But
That's
that's
the
me.
other reason for the tariffs.
Well, Vermont is VT.
Vermont is what?
VT.
VT.
California is CA, but that's also the last letter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
Alaska's AK, I suppose.
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
You are the reason for tariffs, Mr.
Too
Internet.
too many negative connotations if they was called Alaska AA.
So, what happened to your Welsh accent? Because anybody that I've ever spoke to from Wales always has some sort of mental English accent. I have you never hear a Scotsman with an English accent, and you never hear somebody from from Northern Ireland with a English accent. But it's only ever Wales that have English
So
accents.
where I am in Wales, I'm 3 miles from the English border. So I
oh
don't
yeah.
have I've never had a Welsh accent because where we are, like I'm a couple of miles from Chester, we're like the central line across the coastline. Basically, we are the main English channel into the northern coast of Wales. So, the A55 that ADHD Minis was mentioning before, that's
Yeah.
literally as soon as the weather is above 10 degrees, everybody from England goes, let's go to the beach. And they all come across the A55. So I used to love it when I go to work in Chester because I'd be driving to work and all the traffic going the other way would be nose to tail 5 miles an hour and I'd have perfectly clear sailing. I'd finish work in Chester and I'd be coming home to perfectly clear while the other ways coming back out of Wales was rammed. But
Yeah.
I think because we live so close to the border, we don't have an accent because it's quite diluted. If you go a couple of miles down and go into Wrexham, they've actually got quite not proper South Walian accents, but it's a lot stronger there, and that's only like 12 miles up the road from me.
I
Yeah,
will
but
say
like
it's
if you go to Gretna Green, everybody's there with a Scottish accent. You don't hear like Scottish people with, mind you, I suppose anybody who develops an English accent who's Scottish will get ground. I suppose. That's maybe why.
maybe. I mean, I will say that the A55 dreadful road.
Yeah.
But as soon as you hit Shrewsbury going up from like around and up, it's just But I remember like the few trips that we used to do up there, we'd always drive it, and it was always horrendous. There was always a log lorry on there giving us the feels of Final Destination. Like, why is there just a random lorry full of logs driving along a road for no reason? And
Yeah.
then you'd stop somewhere, and it was just like, "Are you sure we're in Wales, mate? What's going on?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's fine. All this way."
It's some of the roads around here are bonkers. Like if we travel down to Hereford, the main route literally weaves across the border. So it's
Yeah.
like, you're in and out and in and out. It's like it's such a weird place. It's like the borderlines and border roads are just mental. So
What I'm loving in the chat just now is that Sam's ran out of states of America. He only knows 2 states.
It's because it's the only two he's ever been to, probably.
Yeah. Uh,
yeah,
It's North Wales, Marley. Anyone has it. Yeah. I will
yeah,
say, it is funny though. You do like we sort of touching on earlier. You do venture further up, and what I discovered, I think, in my trips to the North Coast was there's a lot more actual Welsh speakers, which I personally think is bloody great
yeah,
because it's something that I know a lot of the nation's very proud of and they want to keep it going. But when you
yeah.
walk into a Weatherspoons and the first menu you're handed is a Welsh one, you're like, the fuck is this?
Yeah,
I want a
that's
cheeseburger,
been
not
the
a
fun part of like having the wife come to the UK, and then she was just like, as we were driving around, everyone she was looking, going, "What in the hell does that say?" It's like it's the nearby town is called Mold, it's MOLD,
yeah.
but then you look at the Welsh pronunciation of it, it's like nothing like that. It's like 15 letters, and it's like, how have you got 15 letters from four? So. Yeah, it's always fun. I work as an estate agent, and half of my enjoyment in my job is getting English solicitors phoning up and going, well, I'm going to try and pronounce the name of this house or the location. I could be wrong. Oh no, the TIV.
Yeah, Sam wants to know, tell us about the tip. What's the tip, Dan?
The TIV is the local nightclub that everybody used to go to. And it's great because I don't think they've washed the carpet in 50 years. It's one of those places where you walk in, and by the time you've made it from the front door to the dance floor, you've got no shoes or socks on because they're stuck to the mulch. But it was
I
also
think
one of those places that did like £25 on the door all ins.
I think every town has, like, in Glasgow, there's a place, there's a dancing called Victoria's, which is up a massive set of stairs, which I'm surprised nobody's ever died coming out of a nightclub. And that was always called Sticky Vicky's. You know what I mean?
We in Croydon, we used to have one called Sinatra's, and I think it had been called Sinatra's since the 1970s because my dad and mum used to go drinking there, and then it was like the last place that was open. You pay a tenner to get in, your drinks for all night. They're watered down and horrible fucking piss, but the staircase, you would. It was like the scene from Home Alone where he's walking up the stairs. You are probably likely to have trod on a nail as well in there and got an AIDS from it. But
the tip was great because if you ran across the floor fast enough and jumped feet first at the wall, you'd just run up the wall as well because it was that dense and gummy on the floor. But it was like they used to do like, what was it? It was either 25 quid on the door all in, so you just get unlimited drinks all night, or they'd just have really cheap. It's like you were saying before about the VK Blues. So you either had like the VK Blues for like £1 a bottle, or you get like a double shot and a mixer for like £2.50. So yeah, that was messy nights.
good times,
Does
man.
anyone remember Mex?
Yep, the Judder Man, I remember.
That was the original of Smirnoff Ice. Like, I remember if I wasn't absolutely out my tits, I would think two of them, torpedo myself with two of them, and then that was me gone.
That'll Hooch.
Oh, Hooch was
You know
brilliant.
what? It's funny you all
Hooch
say
has
this.
come back.
Reef came back recently as well.
What came back?
I found a box of that, and my mate had been banging on about it for ages. I found a box in it in my local B&M, and he had a pie a little while ago, and I took it down to him. He was buzzing his little face off. The problem was he broke out a load of straws and was like, right, everyone torpedo it. So,
Yeah.
how are we going to do that with paper straws? You can't bend them. So it was the most awkward thing you've ever trying to see as a bunch of
the perils of a modern society. You can't abuse alcohol as easily anymore.
The kids have went soft. The kids have went soft.
How are you going to have these 40-year-old blokes all trying to neck Reefs with like a paper straw sticking out the side of them like a periscope? Fucking ridiculous.
It's just not the same. So I must say, it's just not the same. That is a rather attractive. Is that a ginger beard? You're supporting there, Dan?
Yes, it is.
Would you say that beard is of the orange colour?
The beard is significantly brighter than the bonds. It's.
But you would say that the beard is orange.
Oh yes, yeah.
Stick it in the light and it glows.
Funnily enough, we are sponsored by Orange Brushes.
Nice.
If you go to orangebrushes.com on Instagram, put in Inquisition in capital letters, 10% off, and not only do you get 10% off, free shipping as well if you live in the UK.
I'll have that free shipping.
Yep, sounds good to me. I definitely need to get some new brushes.
Quality stable brushes, and they've now got dry brushes, which I'm scared to use, even though they sent me them.
I love dry brushes, but I'm always nervous using them because I'm worried I'm just going to abuse them and all the bristles will fall out. So
yeah. That's why I buy cheap makeup brushes.
Yeah, I mean, I bought a stack of brushes just for like burning through because I keep trashing them because I don't want to ruin my good ones. But I do need to get some good ones for doing fine detail work because, you know, the more I put into like my work and the better I get, I then think, right, I need to, you know, focus and be cool, like really focus on doing good work and fine work. And then I realise that all my brushes are knackered and I can't use them. So I need to get myself some decent brushes at the minute. So,
well, look no further.
Ah, look at that. There is somebody who is tied in.
So we've got to the bit of the podcast where we've warmed you up substantially.
Good work.
Word of the day. And we're ready to get to the real questions now, Dan. The questions that everybody, including Mr. Internet, Billy the Kid, Sam, has tuned in for. When you're having a relaxing time with Miss Georgia, what would be your snack of choice?
Depends on the mood. Like if we're watching a film, I generally go for popcorn. It's a default, it's easy, but I am a sucker for malted milk biscuits.
Oh.
Yeah.
Malted milk.
Malted milk, they're a classic, they're cheap, they're easygoing, and they're delicious. Great for dunking in a cuppa.
Do you know what else is great for putting in a cuppa? And I had one about 3 or 4 months ago. Farley's Rusk.
Oh, you can't go wrong with a rusk.
Honestly,
You really
Casey,
can't.
get one and have a wee snack in a Rusk.
It's
Rusks
been a
are
while
great.
since I've had one. I do remember enjoying them, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
When my niece was a little one, we used to get the rusks in from them, and Mum had to tell me to leave them the fuck alone because I was like, I love these, they're great. So,
Yeah. Fucking Rusk, man. And see when you're washing down your malted milk biscuits or your malted biscuits, what alcohol and non-alcoholic beverage do you like to wash it down with?
non-alcohol, I am a slut for tea. This is my tea mug, and on a good day's painting, I will literally churn through that several times. Yes, that is you, Erin. That you are my niece. Well done. Yeah, she's tuned in to see me make a fool of myself. Alcoholic beverages, I'm a spirits man, mostly whiskey or rum.
And what is your go-to rum? Because rum, I'm actually a fan of a Mount Gay Black Label rum. What would be your rum of choice?
My go-to, if I can get it, is a Bumbu.
Oh, that
Absolutely
is
love this
nice.
stuff. I
It's
love
a
that
bit
stuff.
spicy.
It's a bit spicy, but if you use that and maple syrup to make an old-fashioned, it makes a slapping old-fashioned. Yeah, I love Bumbu rum's really good. But Captain Morgan's is my default for a night out because Bumbu's normally the premium. If I've got available to it as well, Diplomatico. Get yourself a bottle of that because that stuff is some of the best out there.
Have you tried the Mount Gay Black Label stuff?
I have, yes. I used to work in a hotel. We had a massive line, and that was one of the ones we had. And it was like, it's a nice, easy one. It's like, stick it over a bit of ice. I can just drink that one neat.
Yeah.
It's one of the go-tos.
So,
Oh, Erin,
with your
don't go.
tea,
Give us a story or hint at a story that could embarrass Dan. Come on, Erin. Give us a wee anecdote about Dan. What else
family.
did he steal? What else did he steal?
Don't ask her those questions. She's keyed into too much of my family life. She doesn't need to know that. I mean,
With your tea, what brand do you want?
brand, I'm on Yorkshire tea.
Everyone loves a Yorkshire tea.
See, we used to use. Please don't. One of my favorite. Sorry, just slightly off topic. One of my favorite things was Eric once said to me, "I hate it when Uncle Dan goes for a shower. I can always tell why is that because he blows his nose in the shower." And it's like, because her room when she stays with us is right next to it, so all she can hear is me fucking honking like a foghorn. But no, my tea, we used to get PG tips, but I really like a Yorkshire tea. And as a real special treat, I'll grab myself a pot of the fucking glitter bomb. Yeah, Welsh Brew's my other default.
So what happens with the glitter bomb, Dan?
I'll preface this by saying that some of my best mates are absolute bellends. When I used to work in Chester, there was a group of them got together and thought it'd be really, really funny to order me a glitter bomb. Now, I was completely unsuspecting of this, and I was actually waiting for something to come into the post because I'd ordered myself a back banner for my old box dread. And I'd found one box dread size that somebody was selling on eBay. So I ordered it, and one day, this tub turns, like this little tube turns up. I thought, oh, it's my thing I've ordered. So I walk into the living room, cut the tape off it, pop it open, and the spring goes off and fucking launches bright pink glitter all over me. And it's just fallen all over my legs, all over me. I'm just fucking furious because I despise glitter in all shapes and forms. I think it is the bane of humanity, and whoever invented it should be fired out of a cannon into the sun. So my mates sent me this glitter cannon, and they immediately sent a message with a picture to my best mate saying, I don't know it's you, but I suspect it's you. And he responded with, it wasn't me, but I really wish it was. Turns out it fucking was him. 6 months he kept that secret. Yeah, that's the one. Car broke down on the way to Chester. It was -2 outside. That was fun. But yeah, I was raging for a whole day because I was covered in glitter and I couldn't get rid of it. It was like, I really loathe glitter.
Was it up your nose?
It didn't make it that far because the spring wasn't that powerful, but when I finally confronted one of the lads who was responsible, he said, when I ordered it, I was given the option for a power spring and double the amount of glitter. I was like, if you'd have done that, I'd have come to your house and burned it down with you in it. So, yeah. That was, she thought it was hilarious because she was sitting next to me on the sofa and she was just laughing uncontrollably, like shouting for Nanny. I was like, Nanny, look at that. I was like, just don't. So, yeah.
Love that.
Aaron, you need to keep these stories coming. This is highly entertaining. This is
this is, I think, an Inquisition first that a family member has jumped in the chat and started baiting the guest out. I'm enjoying this, so I think we should encourage this more, Doug.
Yeah, the car breaking down was we were going into Chester and got 3/4 of the way, ironically up the 55, just past the last turn off before Chester. This was like mid-December. It was like -2 outside, and my car shit the bed. Everything started flashing on the panel. It wouldn't turn. The power steering was gone. Turns out the computer had completely carked it. I couldn't even turn the engine off because it was on a car key, one of those little card ones. So yeah, we just sat on the side of the 55 in really crap weather. And waiting
was
for
it like the old Renault Inserti one?
It was a Renault.
I hated them.
So the only way they could get the car to stop was by stalling it. So yeah, that car was knackered.
Oh, that is. There's no, I had a car that its engine blew on the way back from Belfast once. That was a shit day.
Oh.
That was it was in between Christmas and New Year, and I sat at the side of the motorway. We picked up our daughter coming back from Belfast. Coming back to Liverpool, and she was in the car coming over for New Year, and we got maybe about 5 miles outside Belfast, and the engine just went, nah, I'm retiring, and just blew up. So I sat at the side of the road for about 2 hours waiting for my daughter's boyfriend to come and pick us up. Not one police car came and asked us, like nobody would stop. It was like 7 o'clock at night, so it was like pitch black. So I had to leave the car at the side of the motorway. And I came back and the car was gone, went to the police station. They must have waited until they'd been picked up and then got it fucking seized. Like, why were you fucking not here? Like, we were sitting at the side of the road for about 2 hours waiting for this guy to come and pick us up. And then we went up and got the car the following day. But it cost me like £200 to get it out the fucking recovery team. It's fucking shocking, like.
Yeah.
I've been lucky. I think I will share a breakdown story. I think I've been very lucky that I've never been in a car when it's broken down properly or anything. But when I was
had several. Problem is I've lived on second hands all my life, so it's like it's yeah. What was it when I lived down in Wiltshire and I was driving, going a bit too quick, hit a calming measure and blew the suspension through the bonnet. Yeah, I hit it fairly quick. I was driving like an idiot. Yeah, wrecked the car, but managed to recover it. It was actually recoverable. So yeah.
Were you in a band?
Yeah, this was what. Yeah, I was in a band when I was like 16, so way too long ago. Yeah, I was in a band for several months, and then they kicked me out because apparently I was taking it in a childish direction. And then they released a song called. Apparently I wasn't taking it seriously enough and I wasn't putting enough time and effort in, and then they released a song called Swivel Chair Symphony dedicated to the drummer's hatred of the fact his girlfriend broke up with him via MSN. So that's how long ago it was. Yeah.
That's impressive that you can get kicked out of a band for not being too serious about it. Especially at that age. Like.
Yeah. I was a nervous wreck when I was a kid. I wasn't a confident person then. You know, if you just said to me, oh, we're going to stick you on a live video and interview with 2 random guys that you've never met, I'd be like, well, I'm going to go live in Dover for the rest of my life.
It sounds like you've lived everywhere but, so, you know, it might be an all-up.
Yeah. No, it's after years of...
Is this where you say that the band was Muse or something and they went on to become mega successful?
No, if that was the truth of the matter, if some mega band, like mega famous rich band, and they kicked me out for not taking it seriously, I'd probably have just like jumped in front of a moving bus or something by this point. I'd be like, that could have been me.
What did you play?
I was frontman. I play a bit of guitar and bass, but I was mostly vocals, so it was like very old, like way back when we were into like the heavy metal and stuff, so.
See, that's
Honestly,
even more
Erin
impressive.
is just doing our job for us in this chat, by the way. Erin, you can stay as long. We should just give Erin a job.
So, do you want to jump on and do the interview for us?
Yes, I did used to have long hair, and it was a nightmare because when I showered it did just go. But yeah, I used to have like a proper long ponytail and massively long beard and stuff. Yeah,
I think
But see,
go on, Duncan.
yeah,
see the worst thing about having long hair, 'cause I used to have long hair back in the day when I was like 14, 15. People, no matter who you were fighting, they would always go for your hair. Like, I know
yeah.
people slack off women, oh, why do they go for hair? But guys go for the hair as well. Like, guys will start pulling your hair.
Which he,
Well, that was the problem with having a ponytail. If somebody wanted to take control, they'd literally just grab the ponytail and yank. It was
Yeah.
horrible. It was like an instant cripple move. And with my love for Phasmophobia, Wino Nighthaunt Army, that's because I like hunting the ghosts, not being them.
I will say, actually, you know what? It's even, I think, as a bloke, if you've got long hair, because I've never really had massively long hair. If I grow it out, it turns into like what I describe as a hair helmet.
Yeah.
I look like Harry Potter before Harry Potter was a thing. But as a bloke, if you've got like your hair slightly wrong, slightly messy, whatever, other blokes just come up to you and like, sort your head out, mate, and then they fuck off.
Yeah.
And it's like, hang on, what? Like, I remember even it's not just white guys this happened to. Like one of my mates in college was a black fella, and he was in a shop, and this guy pinned him into the corner in a shop. Another black guy was having a go at him because he said his haircut was too nappy and he needed to sort it out. And I just remember sitting there thinking, do I try and split this up? Do I back my mate up and get involved in this argument? Or is this just sort of like one of those things where I realise I'm a white guy, I need to take a step back and just not get involved?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yep. Oh, thank God for that.
That's it, she's done. Hopefully more stuff does come from Erin during the course of the rest of the interview.
I'm sure she'll think of something. She's a tenacious one, as my niece.
So you mentioned there when you're watching, you enjoy your popcorn when you're watching your films. When you're not hobbying, what sort of films are you watching?
Anything and everything. I think it's really hard to pin down because I will literally watch anything. Like we'll sit down and watch new films. Like if there's something that piques our interest, like what was the most recent one we watched? It was can't even remember what it's called, but it's basically a film about this lady starts an improv group in London, and Sean Bean comes along and hires her and two members of her improv group to infiltrate an underground cigarette smuggling ring, and they end up getting really deep into it, and it's absolutely hilarious because it's Bryce Dallas Howard, Sean Bean, Orlando Bloom.
Advertised, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. No, I do not. I fucking hate Frozen. She used to watch it every time she came round, and I've still never seen that whole film, ever. I've seen the clips of it when she watches it.
What is your favourite Disney film, though? Because everybody
Lilo and
has
Stitch.
Straight away,
That was an easy one. Lilo and Stitch, I don't even contest. The original, not the remake, though. The remake was gash. Yeah, Lilo and Stitch is my absolute favourite. It is a fucking fantastic film.
I love that was without any hesitation. Robin Hood.
Ooh.
See, that's an amazingly good one. I love the old school Robin Hood. It is catchy and it's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of the Rescuers. I love the Rescuers.
Yes.
The Rescuers is good as well.
Yeah, I do. I have a Stitch t-shirt. It's bright blue and it says I'm hangry on it.
I think you might be making him angry during the course of this Erin as well. So.
Nah, I can't be angry at her. She's awesome.
Nah, he's barring you up now. That's what it is.
No, because I know she's old enough to backsass me when she gets here next. So, there's no buttering up. She'll still give me shit.
So,
is your niece into the hobby at all, or is it just you?
She's got an interest in it. She does have some miniatures. Basically, when she was in a primary school, her teacher started a warhammer group, So she has an interest in it. I just need to get sat down and doing some painting. But I took her to Warhammer. Well, I was going to take her to Warhammer Worlds when my car broke down. I was going to buy her a Christmas present. I was going to let her pick what she wanted. But she ended up getting, I was like, what do you want to play? Do you want the fancy or the 40k? She was like, I like the cool old school stuff. And I was like, okay, which army? We sat and looked through it. She went for Lizard Men. So, yeah, she's got good taste.
Actually, this is an interesting point that you've just raised. If she got into it while she was in primary school, I know the Warhammer Alliance program recently ditched primary schools from the program. Do you think that's a good move or a bad move? Because I personally think that it's a bit of a shitty bad move.
I think it's a bad move because if you get somebody into a hobby, you can get like young, they can really develop a love for it, and it can become something quite meaningful for them. Like, you know, some of the people who are now working for the company started when they were littlings. But at the same time, I do understand that they do have that trepidation of, like, you know, some of the shit that comes with the hobby and some of the thematic things that it deals with. I can understand why they'd be hesitant to introduce a less than 10-year-old to it. So yeah. I understand the reasoning. I don't necessarily agree with it.
That's fair.
And once we get Erin on, you can come on and give shit about Erin.
Oh, yes. It's a two-way road.
So what you what are you okay saying?
No, don't go because I've lost my train of thought. You go, buddy.
So just to jump back onto the hobby, I was going to ask a question that I thought earlier, an old school question that we first started asking, but I can't remember it now. So I'm going to jump back to the hobby. What are you currently painting this now?
I'm currently working on the Cursed City Alliance miniatures. So I'm currently working on the Sage, let me lift that up. So the little old dude with the big stick and the big cloak. It's not the best, but it's one of the ones because I sort of like, I bought the Cursed City box ages ago and I built everything for it. And then because I had so many projects going on, everything just kind of fell to one side. But I've like burnt myself out on painting 40k, so I'm like, I'm going to paint some fancy, and I really love the sculpts of the Cursed City stuff. I think it's absolutely amazing. But I got the Cursed City and I got the Hexbane's Hunters to go with it because I thought, oh yeah, I can paint pooches to go as well. I've got dogs with this set. So yeah, I'm building them up and creating the Cursed City set because I think it's a fantastic set and the miniatures are wonderful, sculpts are great, and it'd just be nice to play something that isn't 40k for a bit.
It is nice.
If you had... Sorry, Case, on you go.
No, go on, Dom. You were halfway through a question. I just said it's nice.
It's nice. If you only picked one game system, what would it be that you would want to, if you could only pick one?
As in one to paint and play for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
I'd probably go with 40k because it's what I know best. I know more of it. It's like the Age of Sigmar, I've only really started dabbling into it in the last 4 or 5 years, whereas 40k I've been interested in it since I was like 15. You know, even when I wasn't playing, I was still buying the books and reading the books, and I now get the audio books so I can listen to them while I'm driving, stuff like that. So it's the one I know the best. So I'd probably stick with 40k, like 30k, 40k, because it's the Horus Heresy and the 40k stuff that I like. So
yeah, I think that's the thing. I think it's like, for me, it was I get into the lore before I get into the figures side of it.
Yeah.
Because another thing that I haven't ever mentioned was I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm only in Warhammer, the painting side, since just before lockdown. And I get into Warhammer because I read a bad Star Wars book, because they did my man Boba Fett bad in this book. I think it was called Bloodlines. I think the book was
I
called
was going to say, I think I know the one you mean.
I think it was a Bloodlines book, and they did him bad, and I was so annoyed with it, so annoyed the direction they took Boba Fett in. So I started reading Horus Heresy. So would you say that you're more into the lore or the painting, and was it the lore that got you into the painting, or the painting that got you into the lore, etc.?
I think I'm on equal foot. Like, I started out with a painting. That's how I got into the hobby. It was a friend of mine said, oh yeah, come and look at this. You know, I do this as a hobby. And I started looking at the figures and the minis and the painting and stuff. And then he pointed out that there's the books and stuff. And it just kind of all amalgamated into one, because it was like, as I started painting, I was like looking at these cool figures, and then I found out about the books. And I was like, okay, these are really cool. But then as I started reading the books, I'd read books that weren't part of the stuff I was painting and building. So it'd then lead me to buying more miniatures or buying more books, and it just kind of spiraled. So I love the books, I love the painting, I love the gaming. It's all sort of equal footing.
So I think I would be on to a question, and then I'll throw it over to Casey, because this question I'm going to ask Casey to answer it as well. If you could be any character that isn't a Primarch, who would you want to be if you could be a character?
Cal
As a one
Jericho.
character. Mm.
Cal Jericho.
Good choice,
Because
actually.
he's a suave debonair, sort of like rogue trader. He's got a bit of sass to him. He's got a bit of personality. And he does get into the danger and the adventures, but he's also, a bit more than just a grim dark, I kill things, I shoot things, oh, I survived, look at that. He's got more story and pizzazz to him.
You know what? I'm going to go on a weird one here, right? And I'm going to just very quickly say bye-bye to Aaron. Lovely having you. Thank you for your involvement tonight. I'm going to say Jurgen from the Kane book.
Yes, I love Jurgen. Fair point.
Don't get me wrong. You'd be a bit of an idiot. You'd have really bad breath and stink. You'd have really bad skin. But you survive everything.
And you've always got sandwiches.
You've always got sandwiches. You've always got tea. But somehow you go through all of this stuff, completely oblivious to whatever the hell is going on, and you survive. Should, as a guardsman, you should have died at least 50 times over half of those books and stories that you read. But he just cracks on and he gets on with it. And you're like, okay.
And the fact that he just carries a multi-melter just in case. Yeah, I could side with that one. I do like that, because I've loved the Kane books. I think they're fantastic, and it's just that sort of like dumb optimism he seems to carry everywhere. I can get behind that.
That's most of my life is dumb optimism. But so I'm probably halfway there. But, it's just that. Like, you think you read all these stories, like the Eisenhorn series, like some of the other spin-off ones where humanity is just off you go and die. And then somehow you've just got this one weird dude that's just like, no, I'm all right, thanks.
Yeah, just casually walking through the 41st millennium serving tea and sandwich and occasionally obliterating things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's almost like being the non-attention paying bystander sort of thing.
So for me, for a faction I don't necessarily like or follow, but I think it's just his story for me is probably one of the best over like the two Horus Heresy books that he's in, is Ardal Tal.
Yes.
That's a very tragic character, actually. I think
I was going to say, that's an angsty one.
Yeah, it's such like you feel sorry for him, and the way he was done over by my boy fucking Erebus. But it's like a fucking...
Don't putting it lightly.
Yeah.
It's like a Shakespearean fucking moment he has at the end.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like he was bad for turning, but he was in love with his Primarch. But I think Ardal Tal, because his story is just, for me, it's just probably one of the... Even though he's only in 2 books, I think it's probably one of the best character arcs that...
Yeah.
And there's also a character in a book, I think it was like Fabius Bile captured him and turned him into a monster, and I think he's a space marine, and he was trying to explain to a space marine who was attacking him that he was a space marine, but the way it was like coming out in the space marine's perspective, it was just guttural noise, and then he just killed the guy, like the guy that was the one that was experimented on with Fabius Bile. So I think for me it's like those two are tragic characters that I would like. Well, if I could be
I can't remember. It's a stupid title book, but that's the one with Perturabo and Fulgrim, isn't it? And then in the end, that's when Fulgrim turns into half monster, half snake thing.
Yeah.
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 That's me. Ardal Tal.
Strange choice, I personally think. Like you're just gonna. But yeah, there you go. At least you get to eat a Custodes at some point. So. Yeah.
Imperial custards for lunch.
Like a fucking custard cream.
I did actually have a question for both of you, and I was sitting on it all day, and I was so proud of it. And now I've come. Now you're asking the question for everyone. It's gone, and I'm livid. But
That's iron. I mean, you just made up a story there to make yourself sound good. That's why you
no, not like I ever sound good anyway. But I tell you what, actually, I think there's some standard ones that we haven't done yet, Dunk.
wait.
So let's just jump back into some of the standard questions. Dan, since getting back into your Warhammer stuff, seeing as obviously everything's progressed so much in a lot of our absences,
Yeah.
how do you feel that the quality of paint has become, and what is your preferred paint range at the moment?
Paint's come a long way. When I left the hobby, they just released base paints. You know, the
Okay.
really old, I think I've still got some of them still usable, the really old school heavy base paints. And that at the time was like a super miracle thing, 'cause it was like one coat and it's painted. That's amazing. Except for the yellow, because nobody could ever get the yellow right. Um, but with the new stuff, there's so many different types. I, I like contrast. I think contrast is a genius thing, but I have to say it's one of those ones where I've still not managed to get it quite right. Um, you know, it's one of them that I can't get behind. But then there's other people's like, have you got some of the army painter ones, and they seem to work significantly better. So I like, army painter. Vallejo is one of my big paint ranges that I use as well. I use a lot of Vallejo. I've got a few of the Green Stuff World color shifts just for when I fancy doing silly stuff. Um, and then, yeah, it's just, I've literally got a major range of 40k, and then a vast swath of all other stuff like Army Painter, Vallejo, Dark Star, AK, Green Stuff World. It's everything. I just buy whatever takes my fancy or what I need.
Do you think that from where we probably came before those years ago, when pretty much everyone did use Citadel for the Warhammer minis because
Yeah,
that's what you were sold, that's what you knew, that the leaps and bounds in other third parties jumping in and offering stuff out there? Because you would have think years ago stuff would have been just like, here's a brand of paints that people use for military dioramas, here's a brand of paint that people use for
yeah.
car miniatures, and everything seemed to be just separate, and then eventually something clicked.
Everything had its set place, and that's what you'd use, and to cross the paths was almost heinous.
Mm.
I remember seeing somebody turn up to a game one day that they'd used Humbrol paints to paint a Space Marine, and it was like, all of these other miniatures, they've got that nice matte look, and then you've got this one guy that's like this immaculate glossy enamel paint, and you're like, it's very shiny, boy, that one. It doesn't look right. It was like, he just left them off the table because it was unheard of to use the wrong paints on the wrong models. But I love that there is so much variety and range. Sometimes I struggle because I can't find the quite right thing for what I need. It does annoy me that there are some colours they don't make anymore, and you have to go to other companies like Goblin Green, for example. Everybody loves a bit of Goblin Green. One that I still have a tiny bit is Chestnut Ink, and
Oh,
that was such a good ink back in the day. And it's like, I found one the other day that was a half-used pot on eBay, and they were asking for 12 quid for it. I was like, 12 quid for half a pot of chestnut ink, and it might not even be liquid by this point. So I don't know. I love all the different styles, and for me, it's just a case of being able to dip into all the different ranges and see what works where.
sure. And what stands out, I think, and this is something that we like asking. I think Dunk might have frozen, so I don't know if we're going to get kicked out in a minute. But I'll ask it quick. What was your favourite paint previously, and what's your favourite paint now?
Ooh, if we're going back really old school, my old favorite paint was it's the metallic blue one. I can't remember the name of it. I've got a pot of it down there, still liquid. It's a really old metallic blue paint. Um, can't remember the name of it, but it was gorgeous because it was like almost like ultramarine blue, but it was metallic. So when you paint it onto like ultramarines, it made them look nice and shiny and metallic, and you could use it for librarians to really good effect. My current favorite paint, I don't honestly have one.
Really?
It's Yeah, it's I don't have any particular favorite. I'll just use anything, and I paint so many different things. It's hard to have a different range or a different. Actually, I will say one of my favorites, and it's probably going to upset some people, It's Pro Acryl titanium white.
Oh,
Yeah,
Absolutely love the stuff.
Kate
Yeah,
is just such a hard on for that fucking titanium white.
I picked up a bottle of it on a recommendation from a mate, and I really loved it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic because it's the best white I've used for painting because I don't need to paint like 30 coats of it on and lose all the detail. One of the other ones I really like, one of the companies which is kind of hard to like, it's expensive to get to the UK because it costs shit. Villainy Inks. Don't know whether you tried them.
I've heard of them. I haven't tried them.
Really good. So they do like different color washes. They're all enamel paints, enamel washes, and they're really good. Like they've got different styles. Like I ordered the starter pack of 7, and they're decent sized bottles as well. They're not little bottles. They're quite hefty bottles that you
Mm.
get. So it's a good supply. And some of them, like you've got the rust effect one, so it's got like little bits of grit in it. But because it's enameled, it washes really easily as well, so you can use it for panel lining things as well. So it gives some really grotty, grimy effect as well. It's really good stuff. That's one that I tried on a whim and was very pleasantly surprised by.
What I found is, like, see if you're wanting to do a decent enough rust effect, see that Nuclear Sunrise Speed Paint by Army Painter. That's pretty good for giving like a kind of deep rusty. I've been using that on my Death Shroud. But see,
Hmm.
apart from paint, because obviously like, there's so many brands out there, what company or what is your go-to for basing materials?
Um, I've got a lot of like army painter terrain stuff. But there is a company that I quite like. They sent me a bunch of freebies a while ago. It's Moonhopper Games. And they do some really nice basing stuff, and I like picking up a couple of bits off there. Like if I've got a themed army and I'm going to have a themed base, I'll get the stuff from them because they do some like quite outlandishly weird ones, like quite brighter, unexpected blends. So they're really good because they do their own lines. But yeah, most of my stuff, like my grass tuft, is army painter. I don't get any of the GW basing stuff because it's such a limited supply and a limited range, and the cost on it when I can go like local hobby shop and pick up like 50 tufts of grass for a fiver, it's like I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
And what about yourself, Casey? Like, is there any particular brand that you would use for like like when I go up to Belfast, there's a wee kind of hobby shop that does a lot of kind of World War II stuff, and they've got a lot of like basing like
Yeah.
materials there. Is there
And
anything that you use?
you know what? I hate basing. I think I said this when we had Siege on, right? Because his whole thing when he released the Siege Scenics was, it's a case of if we look after our gardens and we want our gardens to look presentable, why would we not apply the same theory to minis? Personally, I fucking hate gardening with an absolute fury. So if you're telling me I've got to make a base look like a fucking garden, I'm going to tell you to fuck off. At the moment, I think I am buzzing with a lot of these underworld minis, and I think the City ones are quite similar. That the bases are sort of
Yeah,
molded and already built.
it's you've got that molding where they've got like the bits of terrain and scenery on them. So like the Hexbane Hunters, the Cursed City don't actually. The Cursed City's
Oh,
plain
okay.
bases, but the Hexbane Hunters, because it's that small squad, they've got it where
Yeah.
and they're sculpted to look like rubble-strewn streets.
Hmm.
And I found like a really nice way to make them look dead effective is you just paint them so they look like stone, paint all the details on it, but they've got little bits where it's made to look like rippling water, so you just wash some water effect over it and let it
Yeah.
set, and it looks like proper dank stone streets. It's really nice.
Yeah. So for that, I've
I
been
like stuff
using
like that.
a Phonian camo shade over a grey, and then using like some varnish to do the
Yeah,
same sort of thing. But that's the most effort I think I've put into anything. I had to actually go look it up and put some thought into it. I prefer just using texture paint, either
yeah.
put it on the base and then spray it, or depending on what I'm aiming for, you put it straight on the base, done. Maybe give it a dry brush if I'm feeling adventurous. But tufts
Mine,
and stuff like that.
yeah, mine will vary depending on whether it's like a standard line character, a line model, or if it's like a character. If it's a character, I'll put the extra effort in. because I want it to look nice. Like I did a Kit Bash Deathwing Banner Bearer, so I built the base up, used a bit of rubble terrain. I got some of like the Army Painter razor wire, mounted that in it, made it look rusty, and I built it up so it looked like a proper scenic base. But if I'm painting 50 Space Marines or 100 Guardsmen,
yeah,
I'll just paint it like I'll just do like you say, just a bit of like crackle paint or something like that.
Jesus, Sam's still here. He's trying to chat smack. Oh. I think it's he's watched one of our episodes.
I have a question for you, gents.
Okay, go on then. We like this.
So, given all the stuff that they've had, all the game systems over the years, and their penchant at the minute for bringing random stuff back from the dead, what game system would you like to see come back?
Dunk knows my answer, so I'm going to let Dunk have a think on this first of all.
Battle Masters. Listen,
Yeah.
like I'm a noob to like miniature gaming. Like, so as I say, like I was a big Star Wars boy coming up, so it was always like Star Wars figures, and I had Space Crusade and I had Hero Quest when I grew up.
Yeah.
And I had Battle Masters, but in relation to Warhammer, like I was never a big Warhammer boy because I was too poor for it, to be honest with you. Single parent, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like it was just out my price range. So I can't really answer that with a decent answer, but maybe Battle Masters.
No,
Cool,
I mean, that's the thing is if you didn't really know it, that's, but it's still a fair answer to have something that you want to bring back.
I mean, for me, the obvious answer, I mentioned it earlier, more time. I didn't pull any faces when you mentioned Battle Masters, don't repay the favour. Stick your bingo
I remember
cards.
the Mordheim of the day, it was fantastic. If I was going to bring one back, it would be Battlefleet Gothic.
Ooh,
I really love Battlefleet, and it's like just as I was really getting into the hobby was when it was hitting its peak, and then they just stopped, and it was like it's a shame because given the amount of like lore they've put behind it now, it feels like it was a redundant thing to take it away. And we used to do we did a scaling battle over the course of a couple of weekends when I worked at GW, where it was like it started off as a Battlefleet Gothic game, Imperial versus Chaos, and then depending on who won or lost, would then scale it down. So the next battle was Epic 40k at the time. Then you had an Apocalypse match, then a standard game. It basically whittled down in size, and depending on who won, determined what happened in the next game. And it was really, really cool because you could do that scaling, but now you don't have that so much because you also had Inquisitor at the time as well, where it had like the big, the 58mm scale miniatures, and they were amazing. So I'd love to see something like that come back.
I think that was an awesome way of doing it as well.
I could see that like a fucking massive scale space battle, and then taking it onto the planet, and then maybe going from a 3,000 point game down to a 1,000 point game, and then then narrowing it down to a kill team game. I could fucking well see that.
Yeah. And you could do it as it'd be a really good way to set narrative stories as well. Like if you're doing a gaming club, you can run a whole narrative series, and it was a really cool thing. And I was like, they've taken away 2-3 of the core systems. They brought back obviously Legiones Imperialis, but it's not quite Epic 40k because it's literally Space Marines and Imperial Guard and Chaos. You don't have the Eldar Corsair ships that you used to get, and you don't have the massive war bands of just orc trucks and stuff. And it's I found one on eBay the other day. It was £400 for 5 epic buggies because they just don't make them anymore. It's the old metal models. So it's I'd love to be able to get that kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember donkeys ago, my local store, I think it was around the time of Armageddon, they just decided to run a piss take. They found their old Epic box in the back of the storeroom, found all the Orc vehicles, found all the Space Marines and Imperial, and we're like, right, what we're going to do is, this game is a race. You've got a race from that hive to that hive, and you've got, the Imperials have got to reinforce it, the Orcs are attacking, and whoever gets there first affects how the next event of the store will be hold out, and how many squads players were allowed to bring to the table. And it was sick because the rules were just so hashed out. It was roll a dice, that's how far your vehicle moves, in inches. And it was great fun. You were allowed to shoot and stuff like that, and they really made a big deal out of it. And I know I bash it, and I know people still love it. The current competitive state of the game has killed all of that.
Yeah, I agree on that. I remember back in the day, people would come up with a game and they'd like write their narrative storylines to go along with it. Like when you saw people playing in the stores when I worked there for the brief few months, there was people who would come up like they'd have long running campaigns that they'd set for themselves.
Mm.
And you had so much narrative backing to it, it just seems to have lost that love because all you've got is like, they seem to be organising the next big tournament, the next big campaign, and every time there's a tournament, they'll rejig the rules and stuff, and it just takes that fun away. So it's like I much prefer the old like story based. I remember back in the day where they used to do the campaigns where it was like the results of the campaigns determined on a worldwide scale would actually affect how they wrote the next book.
Yeah.
And it was like, I've still got some of them, like I've got Codex Armageddon and things like that. And it's like, I love that kind of thing. The way they created their stories and actually had people involved, whereas now it's just like big tournament, make a game, make money.
Yep.
It's not the same.
No, it has sucked it has kind of sucked a lot of the enjoyment out of it for me. And like I say, I don't want to bash it too much because people do know my stance. But I also think that the problem is the lack of head canon, because here's a set of rules, here's a campaign book, this is what we are determining. No one's allowed to sort of just go off and think, I'm going to create a planet, and on this planet this happens, and then the orcs invade. And it was always a bit, I think, if you when you played the Dawn of War games, I think by Soulstorm and the later ones, it just felt like a 6-year-old was writing the storylines because here's one planet and every faction's on this planet fucking each other.
Yeah.
But that was the part of the fun when you were trying to think of how a campaign would work or why your mate has got this army and your mate's got that army, but you've got this one. And how the three of you
why would the
together.
Sisters of Battle be suddenly trying to kick the shit out of the Space Marines, and why the Space Marines stomping on the Imperial Guard?
Exactly.
Why are the Orcs suddenly fighting alongside Necrons? It was great because you had to come up with your narrative storylines and stuff. It was entertaining. The other question I was going to ask you is, what is a piece of hobby equipment that you've bought over the years that you regret?
Oh, well done. You take this one first.
It wasn't something that I bought, but it was something that was bought for me, was my airbrush, because I just don't know how to use it. And it just sits there staring at me. And my son goes, "Are you ever going to use that airbrush?" I'm like, "Yeah, I use it all the time, but I think I've used it like no times at all." I think I turned it on. I turned it on and I sprayed some water and went, "Oh, this is going to be fucking brilliant." Put some paint in it, and the paint never came out like the water. And I was like, "This is fucking shit," and then just put it away.
Yep, fair. It took me a while to learn airbrushes. What about you, Casey? Anything that you
I'm just looking in my cupboard of shite at the moment. I don't think like it is literally a cupboard of shite. Hang on, look at this. Look at this. It's an absolute hit. Look at this pile of bollocks. I don't, equipment-wise, I don't think I have actually gone out and specifically bought anything for the sake of it. I think the one piece of hobbying equipment that was bought for me similar was the painted handle. I do enjoy it. It's nice to hold, but at the same time, I'm always big on being a cheap bastard, and I've got old spice pots,
tubs, corks, anything you can find that you can blue tack shit to.
And I don't think I've got a problem with the painting handle. I would say that's probably the only piece of pure hobbying equipment I own.
Yeah. I've got a couple of them, but I actually quite like them. They're good for the details. The reason I asked this is because I was having a conversation with one of my mates a couple of days ago, and I thought, fuck, I remember that. The one thing I regretted buying now, weirdly enough, ties in with what Dunk was saying. I've got an airbrush. I swear by it. I love it. I've learned how to use it. It's taken practice. But I remember buying, back in the day, the official Games Workshop hand flamer airbrush that was powered by, you had the aerosol cans of compressed gas, and I had one of them, and it was the worst thing I've ever used.
So Doug, essentially, I think Hobbycraft still sells similar air guns to start people off with, but it was just a little spray attachment thing that looked like a flame, like a 40k flamer, and there was like a glass bottle underneath it, wasn't it? Because you had to.
It was like a glass bowl that you poured and mixed it in. It had no adjustable nozzle.
Nope.
It had a really thin piece of plasticky pipe that screwed onto a cap, and then you attached it to an aerosol can, like a compressed air can. So you couldn't even like refill the cans. You had to, if you ran out, go to your nearby Games Workshop and buy another one. The problem is if it ran out mid airbrush, by the time you got your next can, your airbrush nozzle was fucked.
Yep.
So yeah, it was one of those things that I bought, and I bought it with like 2 or 3 cans because I thought I was going to use it all the time and it was going to be the next best thing. I used it like 3 times. And I was like, this is poo. And it is the one thing I've ever regretted. You know, I found a use for every tool and piece of equipment I've bought. Just that was the one I failed at.
Yeah,
Because it was
horrific.
destined to.
I think that was my first time seeing an airbrush was when they were trying to sell it in my local store, and I was just like, nah.
See, I was young and impressionable and stupid.
But I tell you what, actually, my son asked for one the other day when we were in Warhammer World, and I told him no, he wasn't getting it. He wanted to get the little latex, plasticky paint palette that's the servo skull.
Yeah.
Because they've got them all the demo tables there, and he's like, can I get one of these? I'm like, no, use a piece of paper. But look, it goes on, so, and it can go on a piece of paper, which I can then scrumple up and put in a fucking bin. So no, you're getting a £10 piece of tat.
Yeah, I've got a wet palette, and I just use like, you know, if I wanted one of those, I'd go buy one of those stress popper things. You know, what was it, the fidget toys? Because they do the same thing, and they're probably like a third of the price.
And you can clean them a lot easier as well, because you just wash them out and they go. Bloop.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, I think it's probably the best time to call it quits. We've been going for about an hour and a half.
We have. And it's been very good conversation. I've enjoyed this one tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, man,
thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on. We say it to everybody, so we might as well say it to you. We would love to have you back on at some point if you're up for it.
Absolutely.
Maybe have a wee catch up, because I hope that you've enjoyed yourself. And
it's genuinely nice to sit down and just have a nice long conversation with people who are as much into the hobby and all the different aspects as I am, but also to not, you know, have the pressure of like, you know, you've got to stick to certain conversational topics, otherwise, you know, you're saying the no-nos. It's nice to just chat crap, basically.
And that's what we do.
And make sure that Erin's free the next time you're coming on as well, because we want to potentially have her on as well.
I will do. I'll make sure she's about the house and we'll sit down and have a chat, and she can come and throw shade at me while we're chatting.
Appreciate that.
Before you go, is there anybody out there that you'd like to give a big shout out to, or any sponsors or anything like that? I don't have any sponsors, other than, like I say, Moonhopper Games have sent me a couple of bits, and like I say, they're really good folks, they're really nice people, really good customer service, and just generally anybody in the hobby community who's communicated with me, chatted with me, shared hobby stories. It makes for a much nicer hobby to enjoy when you've got people to enjoy it with. And, you know, there's like a couple of people like Sam, Ryan, Max, you know, those sort of folks who just randomly started talking to me. And, you know, we play games, we chat together, and they're what keep me going in the hobby, because I think it'd be a very lonely job if it wasn't a lonely hobby if I didn't have somebody to chat to. So, you know, everyone, including you guys, you know, finding your podcast was always a good hoot. And, yeah, it's just sort of spiraled from there, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it will get worse. Casey, before you go, do you have any words of wisdom this week?
I think that last sort of saying, what you just sort of said there, it's the meme, isn't it, of the guy in the gas mask looking back. It's like, I know times feel hard now, but they're going to get worse. And that's what we do here good at the Inquisition. We are looking for our October guests, I will say that. So if you're watching this live or you're watching this on catch up and you fancy being a guest and want to, you know, throw down with us, please feel free to give us a shout. Me and Dunk do go out there. We do ask loads of people if they want to come on. We're constantly reaching out to individuals, but please do not feel afraid to reach out to us and be like, you know what, fuck it. I fancy having a go, because this is what we're here for. We enjoy having people come on and chat to us. And like you were doing there, Dan, and asking us questions, that's always appreciated as well, because it makes our jobs a lot easier as well. Not that this is a job, but we always appreciate the conversations flowing everywhere, because you can have this, and me and Doug just bombarding our guests with 5,000 questions in 90 minutes. So it's always nice that someone throws some stuff back at us and keeps us on our toes too. So we appreciate
I just like sowing discord and chaos where I go.
Love it.
No, it's been a pleasure, gents.
Pleasure's been all ours, man. And folks, just one thing from me. If somebody follows you, follow them back. Let's keep the hobby going, because there's no point in you sitting there with 53,000 followers and you're only following 994 people. follow till you can get follow your maximum,
Yeah.
because that's all we can do. But other than that, folks, have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you next week where Casey's lined up another fantastic guest. I won't ask him who it is because they sent it to me in the chat, and we'll see you all next week, folks.
Good night, everyone. See you later.
Toodles! Love you all.